Welcome to a Drop Tent Media production.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. I have a dream.
Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate.
December 7th, 1941.
I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
A date which will live in infamy.
Oh, Nazi failing down. Well, here all of us soon. I have a dream.
Hello. Welcome back to High History. I know it's been a while. I've been slacking, COVID. I didn't really feel like chatting about history. I guess, I don't know, summertime or the living's easy or whatever. But anyway, welcome back. I'm your host, Blaise G. You can follow me at Blaise G Comedy. We got producer Evan behind the keys there. I don't know your handle, and I don't know anyone else's handle, but what's your handle? You want to spit it for the
just
people?
Just producer Evan NWW on pretty much anything.
Are you a good follow, would you say?
No, we're the worst. We're the worst. We don't upload very often.
Yeah, yikes. I mean, I don't either, but when I do, it's killer. You guys really would like it.
I have a really cute dog.
Share those controversial memes.
No, I mean, they're dark humor memes that I like, but not really controversial in the way of like today's comment, just controversial in general, I suppose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So let's get to it. My guest say he's returning. Josh, I don't remember how to say your second last name.
Nah. My real last name, Josh Dweh.
What is it? Do what?
Dweh.
Josh Dweh. Okay, because again, I have you in my phone as Josh Witherspoon. I don't know. I just thought that's confusing. All right, so Josh is on the pod today. You want to throw out your handle or where people can find it to start it off, to kick it off, to hit it out of the park?
Yeah, y'all can find me on Instagram at Believe.n.josh. Facebook is Joshua Dweh. The last name is DWEH. I'll be there posting some funny videos from time to time.
And stand-up clips, if I've seen correctly. Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Just, you want to give the little people a little taste, right? Or whatever. So let's hop right into it. So today's more of like a philosophical but grounded in history sort of conversation. And it's I wanted to get Josh on here because we were talking about America's oppression problem previously. So today I want to talk about like just the current situation and how maybe there's certain avenues, angles, or whatever solutions that we can come up with to change our current trajectory. I can't say it, and I was doing so good.
Trajectory.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I guess I got to start off with we'll cover the first thing that's the most polarizing situation, I would say, like in the country right now. And then the second one is less for some reason. But the first one is obviously George Floyd. Did we and this happened after our podcast, correct? We didn't talk about this last time.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were already talking about it, and then this happened. So if you just, I don't know, want to tell me how that video made you feel, just out of curiosity.
Well, I was being like completely honest. The video, it obviously it disturbed my spirit, right? And obviously it's just like, as a black man, you keep going through this and you just keep seeing it. So even as disturbed I was, it kind of felt so normal at this point because it's always happening. Yes. I guess where I had new feelings is when I saw like the aftermath and saw how this one, everyone initially, this one could be the one. This one could be something that leaves like long-term change.
Yeah,
okay. I was like, felt something. Yeah.
I think that's because there was a ubiquitous understanding that like, that it was horrible. Like no one came out against it. You know what I'm saying? Like even the right was like, yeah, that was, got us on that one. I know that a narrative was pushed later on about like his, I guess, criminal background, which I'm not, I just know they had some charges. Somebody laid it all out. I forget.
Candace Owens.
Yeah. What's funny is Dave Chappelle said, she's so dumb, or she's the most articulate idiot I know. She can tell you how dumb she is precisely. Which is like, yeah, that's pretty on point. But Yeah, goddamn, I lost my train of thought. My bad.
He was talking about like why it was easier for everyone to get behind it and how even a right, and then they brought up the
Oh,
crane
right.
system.
Oh, then the narrative continued about like his past history, and then from there, it seemed like the right, generally the right, tried to like murky the waters of that by saying like kind of diminishing his character, which I don't find as valid because besides like a rape or a pedophile, something of that, or a murder, those are the only things punishable by death. So if you, I don't care if you're high on PCP or whatever drug, it's like you don't deserve to die.
Right, and they're not even taking account to all the opportunities that he lost, or how he's also a victim of the fact that we didn't change our drug laws until it started affecting white communities, like
That's true.
cocaine and fentanyl and stuff. If he would have did that in 2010, he would not have been experiencing all the not life sentences, but the prior jail sentences that he got beforehand.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that because I think it's even deeper than that, and just like the perpetuation of a poverty-stricken neighborhood, and how like a lot of the inner cities, there are white areas that are really poor, but I would say the majority of them would probably be black, but that's just because of like how they were kind of forced into that situation, and then how like the general culture of like the hood, I guess I would say, like the lack of opportunity, and the real opportunity to even get anywhere in life is through illegal activity. So the lack of like real opportunity, and I feel like that's like a really deep contributor. Just like it's like really, I personally feel like it's deep, like it's really deep.
Yeah, this is showing like just the facts that even in Black America, we can't even get the very bare minimum that most communities get of opportunity, which starts with education. Like our schools are shit, and then we are put in a bubble because now we got the address thing where they can't even move to a different school district. And for the kids that really want to be an academically driven person, we can't. So I think now people are just like, oh, how did we get here? How did this happen? And it's kind of like we're doing like bullshit things like the Black National Anthem for the NFL rather than actually changing the systematic problems.
Yeah, and I feel like white people kind of co-opted this whole thing. And when I say that, what I mean is like black people as a whole were like, hey, we just want justice for an unjust killing. And then white people were like, okay, we'll take Aunt Jemima off the bottle. And it was like, yeah, I guess that's kind of a cool thing to do. But at the same time, that's not even what we're talking about. We just want like justice for unjust killing. And then white people were like, okay, all like the non-black voice actors, we're getting rid of them, or they're taking themselves out of shows where they voice black characters. And it's still like, I feel like you guys are just, these are all, I guess, kind of good layered things, but you're just missing the mark on like what the real issue is. So they're subsidizing, kind of saying like, well, we're being progressive, but it's like, yeah, but that's not saving anyone's life. These are just trivial things that you can do in a comfortable society to say like, this a syrup bottle or whatever is like offensive. That's because we're so comfortable here. So it's go ahead.
I was gonna say, and I believe the reason why certain like big majority or white people are safer with making those type of moves like the Aunt Jemima and stuff is because there's a certain portion of that population that still believes Black Lives Matter is going to transfer into Black Lives Better.
Yeah, that's a good point. Which is not at all like not at all what the Black Lives Matter movement is really about. It was just like someone quoted like the Bible. I don't know, some story where there's like 99 or 100 sheep and one goes missing, and then the shepherd like goes to find that one missing sheep, and then the 99 were like, well, what about us? And he was like, yeah, but you're safe. This guy's in danger. Like the sheep's in danger. So it's like, do you understand the urgency behind that? Like, I guess, you know how white people get, dude.
Well, do you want to know the best part about the Aunt Jemima thing? The family of Aunt Jemima, who originally was, she was the most proud human being to be Aunt Jemima. Back in the day, to have that opportunity, it's been twisted into one of the most ridiculous fucking things in the world. The lady who was Aunt Jemima was like, this is the greatest thing in the world. This has fed my family for decades, for generations now.
Wouldn't you
it gave her opportunities to travel the world, and now they're like, oh, it wasn't. It was a woman who actually was proud to be this, and now they're trying to. It's literally as Blaise was saying, it's like the media or these companies being like, hey, look what we can do. Look, it's good, right? But it's like the real thought behind it, there was none, because when you think about it, guess what their fucking family is saying? That it was good.
Well, dude, if you think about it even deeper than that, just having a black woman on a syrup bottle that's in everyone's house would kind of normalize, a black American in the white household, would it not? Like, it could make you more comfortable. So isn't it also representative? So, like, if everyone on a bottle's white,
But that's the thing, exactly, because it's like I'm speaking as from a white perspective, and from reading from what what her literal family was saying in an interview.
Yeah,
like
she was proud to be on the bottle.
Yeah, her family was proud that they still had a lineage in this, because she was a poor person who cooked sometimes, and they found her. Like, that was like the whole thing behind it, and it
it's like world famous.
Yeah. Now, yeah.
But
so
there's two things about that. I was gonna say, like, a lot of like white America and stuff, and not to just keep labeling, but like, it's just.
I mean, I'm white, bro, and I live among a lot of white people, so I don't understand what yeah, white America. I'm with you. I don't feel bad. I don't give a shit.
So I feel like a lot of white America, they'll read that story and like they'll feel like, well, she was happy with it. That's a good thing. Where they fail to also realize, like, for a person to be happy, to just be on a box of a product but not have any ownership in that product is just like so counterintuitive. It's just a victim of that time.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So they're kind of exploiting her in a way, is what you're saying.
But could it's like a small win.
But both sides, I believe, like the argument that I just said, I believe is valid, and I believe what you just said is also valid. So, but my whole point about that is, it's like that's not even a part of the major issue. I guess again, it's probably a good thing or bad. Who knows? It's undecided to take her off the bottle, but it also doesn't solve the problem of police brutality and just the overmanagement of police in general among the citizens. Because I believe that we're living kind of close to a police state.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so I believe that it affects both white and black people. Obviously, black people are, way more the target, but we're all kind of, cops are treating like everyone badly. But that being said, you would think that would make white people, that are more on the right about like, too much government and all that stuff. It would feels like that they would be then, that they would want to be a part of it just as an overall policing issue.
Well, you just said a lot, and I just wanted to finish this.
I know. Sorry, dude. I'm high, so I'm like rambling.
No, you're good. But just going back to the box point is like the last point I was going to make was, even though she was on the box, right, and you're talking about like we got representation, in the homes, like that says a lot. That's a monumental move. Like, yes, you're right on that, but you also got to look at like how she's presented, and just for Black America in general, right? Like, you don't see, if you look at our movies, you can't see positive stories about fucking gang members, but you see positive stories about the mafia. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's always they can't be depicted.
I don't know. I saw Straight Outta Compton. That looked pretty good.
That was not about gang members. That was a rap group.
It was they were like gang members who turned rappers. Well, Eazy-E was, dude. He was dealing the shit,
When I see a movie about the non-trade bloods in a positive way like Scarface, then I'll be right there with you.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, because I see. Actually, that's a very good point. I'm with you on exactly what you're saying. But for me, I still feel like seeing like a black person every day is probably better than not seeing a black person ever. Do you know what I'm saying? And what you say, I'm sorry.
White America is seeing her, though, in a way that makes her comfortable. You think Aunt Jemima wanted to be dressed in slave clothing, saying some shit like, these good-ass pancakes?
I didn't know that she was in commercials or TV. I just know her from the bottle.
No. So the original Aunt Jemima bottle, and the woman that Evan, right?
Yeah.
All right, I just wanted to make sure. Was talking about the original woman who was happy to beat her. She was dressed in slave clothing. She even had the slave shackles still attached to her foot in the original one.
Did not know that.
Yeah, and I'm saying like she may have been happy to be representation in the home, but understand the only representation white America was going to let us have was the representation they felt comfortable with, and that's the problem.
Okay, so then in this specific case about the bottle, I guess I'm talking about specifically with a caricature of a woman because it's a picture, like a painting, and when I've seen it, it's been like a painting and not like a photograph. So a caricature of fuck, dude, I lost what I was saying.
No, the new one you see now is a little bit more of a positive image. You're saying,
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What would then be your solution? That like, where do you think, which direction should we go?
Oh, I'm sorry.
To solve...
I wanted to just correct that real fast. That thing that you were just referencing, not true. That was actually like something that was just kind of perpetuated on social media.
Right.
Yeah, so that's actually not
that
was actually a painting that somebody did for Instagram.
Okay, I really appreciate you.
Yeah. No, because I was like, wait, holy shit. No, they
the slave shackles don't really change it all that much. If
no,
them away.
Well, it does a little bit. But
if
I do understand. Yeah, she was
implied.
wearing like the old style, what you would have worn if you were in like the home kind of clothing. So yeah, I totally agree with you on that. I just like when I heard slave stock, I was like, holy shit, that makes it so much worse. Yeah. No, thank goodness. Thank goodness that never happened.
I appreciate that for fact checking because I do not want to continue saying the wrong stuff.
Yeah. Well, okay. So anyway, go on.
But no, I definitely think that over time, I think that we should have been seeing like truthfully a change in the way it was marketed. Like, sure, back in the 30s or when it came out, I guess y'all were fucking stupid. Fine.
Well, wait,
fine, whatever.
It's also hard to judge the past's morality in today's morality.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
If we go 200 years from now, everyone's going to look back at us like we were doing some bigot shit.
That's what I'm saying.
That's how progression works.
We're letting the stuff back go, but I'm saying like 65, maybe it gets changed a little bit. 1973. Okay, so it's a little bit more hip. 1980, bring it back, but she's wearing something a little bit different, so it's not like that. Like it's a normal clothed, and then you keep modernizing it, and then you can always bring it back to a certain style, but then put her in like a white gown or something like that. Put her in something that's nice, and then bring it back, or maybe like a farmer's thing. Maybe do like different types of stuff, like these are all different things that the marketing people didn't think of, and it kept perpetuating something that I guess technically was okay 100 years ago. Never really was, but that's just how people kind of looked at it. Now it's totally not, never grew. And it sucks. Like it really sucks.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's just,
it perpetuated
it would be a normality of that morality of that time. Like, like even if you personally thought slavery was wrong and you lived in that time period, if you walk by someone's house and they had slaves, that was just the thing,
Yep.
But so regardless of whether or not you agree with it, it's more normalized then. So the normalization of that like morality is from that time period. So that's why I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page about that. I don't know why, but.
And Blaise, to answer your question you asked, you said, what steps could Aunt Jemima Pancake Mix take in order to keep the image? If they would have did something along the lines, I personally believe this, give the family ownership within that company and also...
like a stake in stocks.
Yeah, instead of like, it's like you see with the NFL. The NFL will pay the players as much as they can, but they will never create a way for a black owner to get in there or a way to, help the community outreach to help strengthen these communities athletes are coming from. It's easier to pay your problem off than really give them a stake in it.
That's true. That's a good point.
I mean, shit. Look at LeBron James with shutting his mouth on the China stuff from last year. He gets so much money from China with his, the movie stuff that's going to be happening in the next 5 years. All of his producer stuff. He kept his mouth shut.
Coronavirus isn't that bad.
Well, no, I'm talking about the stuff last year where all that with the China and everything, where he was just like, oh no, you guys need to stop talking about China. Wait, what happened 6 months ago? You never would shut your mouth, but now you're. Because it's money. So yeah, the NFL and all those kind of. I mean, it's always just pay them off.
Dude,
pay them off.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I was LeBron that I'd say anything either. Just because it'd be like, what? Even if I say something, nothing's gonna change. I still want that money.
But even if LeBron says something, right, and he's taught without having the money, it's like he's talking on an international issue that he wouldn't have government backing. So it's like
Yeah,
LeBron's
it's
a
just
voice for what?
dude? So if he did speak out against it, the only plus side to that is none, and all of it is bad. You would just lose the money. People would say shut up and dribble. It's like there's no good part of speaking out if you can't actually influence the situation. If you have that much to lose.
Yeah. And I wish we lived in an era where if LeBron would have spoke out, it would have been more of LeBron labeling the issue and we attacking that specific issue. But if LeBron would have spoke out and Trump supported it, it would just fuel hate for China, period. You know, we'll go
Yeah,
off for other
and that's
tangents
the
than
worst
rather
thing is
attacking
it's
Hong
hate for
Kong.
China and not
And
the
then
government, which it really should be.
Of LeBron supporters who then would hate him for getting backed by the president.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would just be a
They'd be
whole
like,
thing.
"Oh, all this shit," and it's like, dude, he didn't ask for it. He just said it like that. But that's how people are. They're like, now you have to denounce him. It's like, you know, it's like Jesus Christ.
Blaise, you just brought up like the number one issue that I think that all of us is facing, especially those who are more on the side of love. You know, it's hard to love everyone because everyone wants it to be divided. It's like, well, if you say you fucking hate racists and you got hate Trump supporters, and some people are like, yo, I got family that's Trump supporters and they treated me well. They're just ignorant, not racist. You know, and now you're trying to mend this. So you just brought up a great point. Like, even if you choose a side of love, you get eternal hate back, you know?
Yeah, I think the saying that not everyone who voted for Trump is racist, but all the racists voted for Trump. I think that's the saying, which is probably true. So there are a lot of people that just didn't like Hillary Clinton, and then we got, you know, Trump, and the Democratic Party is completely responsible for that because they didn't pick a better candidate.
Yeah. You know,
so it's on us, dude, and we just did it again with Joe Biden. So I would not. Everyone's gonna be all crying and shit when Trump wins again, and it's just like I want to grab him, shake him, be like, "You did this. This is your fault." This is what happens when you just start labeling people with a different point of view and calling them racist based on their political views that have nothing to do, you know, with race. So how do you think that they're gonna vote if you do that? If you just throw them away like that? You know, an argument's never been won by insulting the other side, and it's like, obviously, the right does it to the left, but the left also does it to the right. And if the left is so, you know, intellectually superior, then they should understand that they need to be the ones to be the bigger person and not do it and have the conversation. But they're just as big as assholes as the. I'm really mad about this Joe Biden shit, by the way.
No, I think you hit it a little bit, but with that, I think the biggest issue really is the two primaries that they've picked up the last. It's now, what?
Yeah.
Hillary and Joe Biden. I'm not voting for. I'm sorry. I'm not. I don't.
What happened to Bernie Sanders again? You're telling me he was the most popular among our voting demographic, at least in this area.
And he's quite popular amongst just any demographic. He's not going to lose.
And he didn't win the Democratic nomination. That's a joke, dude.
Yeah.
Not that I necessarily am all about Bernie. My personal favorite was Tulsi Gabbard, but you know, there was no way they were going to let a broad in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And the Bernie situation is so highly unfortunate because I felt like he would have been the candidate that would at least mix shit up, and you could trust him because you don't know what the fuck he's up to. He's not a wild card like Trump. He's a positive wild card, you know. And we just got
he can be. He's been the most consistent political person in power, I'd say, I've ever seen. In the sense of everyone's like, oh, he's just talking about Black Lives Matter and shit like that because, it's hot. It's like, no, there's pictures of him
back in the
civil rights
70s, like 60s and 70s. This dude's old, by the way. He's been doing this, and he's not been talking it. He's been doing it, and that's the thing. Like, cause my family, they were, fed both Hillary and Joe Biden now. My
family is
one of the people in my family may or may not have voted for Trump last time, and get shit for it all the time, and it is fun. But
I don't think that helps.
No, it's ribbing.
Because like it's not to cut you off or anything, but I just want to say this, like, especially with Trump supporters, the more you talk shit it just like makes it worse, and they start doubling down on their mentalities.
It's fun.
Which is like not helping anyone.
It's
I know
fun
it's
because
fun, dude, but
no,
it's
no, no, no,
not
no.
helping.
Here, I'll tell you why it's fun. Because the person who may or may not have voted for this Trumpster fire that we have in office now, is not stupid, like at all. It's like actually a very smart person. So has multiple times been like, oh fuck.
Okay. Well, as long as you feel like you're not peer pressuring them or shaming them into voting a different way, because the truth is, right now, you know, depending on the group that you're in, even if someone supports Trump, they won't say it because they're embarrassed to say it because of the social implications of your, you know, political affiliation. You know, it's
and also
part
too,
I don't agree with. That's all I'm saying. It's like the divisive nature.
I think a lot of older people too, at least ones that are a little bit better educated, have figured out that Trump swindled them. And like working class people, they were swindled hard, and that's one of the things too. So yeah.
A guy with that many failing businesses is still like that prominent, and just even before he became president, American culture. This guy's obviously the greatest con man that ever walked the face of the fucking earth, bro.
Yeah,
but
dude.
I you know, I don't know. I'm all like mixed up about the politics, but let's get back to what we were talking about before, which is right now the BLM movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, I guess, really. So you're obviously aware of Breonna Taylor, I think is how you say her first name.
Yeah,
now, see, this to me should be another, you know, the fact that those guys aren't like in jail right now is really quite astoundingly a joke.
I mean, it may be to you, but like, dude, once
a joke, and like they should be in jail. You know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. Not in a way like you're laughing like ha ha.
Oh
like,
no, okay, just clarify.
Yeah. No, to me personally, we knew. I think every black person knew that once we saw Kentucky on the fucking murder, we knew it was those cops were going scotch-free, no trial, whatever. Those are
That's insane.
Look who runs it. Mitch McConnell. You know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's insane. I mean, I guess the good thing that comes out of social media is kind of the good and bad thing is the flow of information. Meaning, like, you know, 20 years ago, Breonna Taylor, no one even know who that is. You know, she would have been a local news story. But it's all over Facebook. You know, that's how I found out about it, was honestly through Facebook. So it's a good thing because at least the word's traveling. So that way, at least they'll get pressure from the surrounding area on that state to do the right thing. You know, as previously, the reason that these guys are getting off is because there's never been that pressure, because there hasn't been this magnification of a situation.
They don't care though. Like, bro, I just finished calling the district attorney of that like section, you know, because obviously like you want to do something, sign petitions and call the numbers. So literally, I called yesterday because the previous time I tried calling, the line was busy. I called again. The line is still busy. They just don't care, you know. They like leave a voicemail. We don't care. They're not going to answer it. You know, they made up their mind. Those cops are good in their mind.
Well, then, you know, I don't know. Drag them out of their house and hang them.
Well, that's one of the problems I think with policing just in general is
that's crazy.
It's always and it pretty much always has been, at least as far as I know. Protect the badge, you know.
Yeah, it's
whatever
punitive immunity or some shit.
Not even. They'll protect everything. That's actually more for like a diplomat coming to like America or something. Cops, it'll just be like we'll lie, we'll hide everything. That's how it is, because you don't want to make yourself look bad, especially as a chief, or you don't want to make your partner doesn't want to look bad. So meh.
I think I would respect a cop who spoke up way more than somebody who kept their mouth shut. If you keep your mouth shut about some corrupt shit going on, to me, you're just as complicit in the situation as everyone else actually doing the crime.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially, you know, I guess there's situations in life where I didn't snitch on my friends, but I feel like this is so different because I'm not there to enforce the law. I'm just a citizen trying to wiggle my way, you know, down the line here, bouncing off the law walls, you know. So It's just different. I feel like if cops came out when it's wrong and condemn it, and the public would understand that they're, if they started to do that, then you could start to rebuild the trust between community and police force. And I may have said this on here before, but I feel like that would be the first big step, is just cops always condemning bad things, but they don't say anything. So it's like, oh, so you agree with this then?
Yeah, it's because the law isn't about, ethics, in the sense of right or wrong. I don't know how is it like when you get pulled over or whatever. Every time I get pulled over, and even in the situations where I get out of it, and nothing happens to me, I just get a warning. The reason I get out that situation wasn't because I didn't do it wrong or because the cops realized I was right. It's because they was like, yeah, I felt the power, the authority given to me. Or it was like, you know what? I like this kid. Or
that's how I almost always, knock on wood, I've always, it's no matter what, because, my car's, light out or whatever, and you can always get a ticket no matter what. Because I remember one time where we had like way too much weed in the car, and the cop knew. But I stood outside of the car, and then the cop ended up playing a joke on my friend who was driving. He was like, "Well, if you want me to search the car, I can. But if not, you guys can go." I think he said you were going to go hang out at his house and play video games. But I talked to the cops for like 15 minutes. I was being very friendly. The one of them remembered me from basketball when I was younger, and he was like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" I was like, "Well, my friend's just driving me home, and we're going to be hanging out at my house." He knew the other kid, but he knew that I wasn't a bad guy. So we, it's always about interactions, and that's more than not the reason why you get out of stuff, because there's always a reason most of the time, whether it's your car, because you're almost always doing something illegal that they can get you for at all times, whether your hand's not on the wheel right, or you're this or that. Especially before the cameras were rolling all the time, they could literally make shit up at any point, and you're not fighting that for a small ticket. You're gonna get it, and that's why they pulled you over. It's always about the way you talk to them, and I'm sure you know that just as well as anybody, that it's hard to talk to them sometimes too, because a lot of times they have an agenda. It's about either making money or they want to just intimidate somebody. They're like, that looks like somebody who I can fuck with right now. That's literally probably what I think goes through people's heads.
Intimidation is their number one.
Let's see what I can do today. I like this car. Let's see what I can do today.
Yeah, it's really messed up that your whole interaction is subject to how the cop's feeling.
Yes, and not cops.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, and like cops operate just like a fraternity. You wonder why all these like things constantly go down generationally with cops is because it's a hazing element there. You got good cops in there who really want to, stand up for our behalf. But the older cops is like, yo, you say something, you uncool. We'll make your life a living hell.
Or you get sent home. You never come back. You get sent on a pension. Go find a new job, bud. You have 6 years to do that. I know somebody whose dad did that.
I know that there was a story about a woman who reported her fellow police officer for, I don't know, abusing their power, some sort of brutality situation, and the district fired her.
Yeah,
instead of
my friend's father was a cop for a very long time. Actually, Blaise in an area, right around our area here, back, I'll say 90s-ish time. Found out that his partner was working with mob stuff. Brought it to the attention. Was asked to put his badge and his gun down.
The Departed is about your uncle or whatever?
No, no, it's not my family at all. No, it's somebody I know.
I'm joking.
But their dad was in that room was said, we'll talk to you. You have to just drop your badge and your gun at home.
Wow.
Because they already knew. They were okay with it. They were probably in on it. Didn't care.
Those were different times, man.
It wasn't. It wasn't terribly that long ago. I said 90s just to kind of throw you off.
Okay. It was 1989, which is not the 90s.
Little bit. Yeah, right. No, it was just. It wasn't. It was not too long ago.
Okay, so back to Breonna Taylor. What I was going to say about that is the fact that she wasn't doing anything and she was sleeping and they shot her, and I believe they were at the wrong house. It's like, how are they not arrested? That just seems crazy to me. So, but what you were saying is, Kentucky, I guess that's how it shakes down in the mid South, right?
Yeah,
Mid-South. Yeah.
This is South.
Bro. Yeah,
it's all the
Kentucky's
South.
a piece of shit, man. They drink piss water down there.
Moonshine, baby. Yeah, but I mean, it's the South is really a weird place. It's so culturally different than the North.
Yeah, by far, and it's because a lot of their culture was based on races. The founding fathers that came from there, Virginia, Maryland, all those areas like that, were built on racist beliefs. That's why Hamilton was a threat to Jefferson and Adams. It was just like he was going to abolish that shit.
Yeah, right. So I don't know that much about Alexander Hamilton. Is that who you're talking about? Is his first name Alexander?
Yeah.
So what specifically are you referencing there? He was going to abolish slavery when they wrote the Constitution.
Well, this was one of his priorities that he was going to try. Because remember, the guy that fought alongside with him in the war, John Jay, was a slave. And once he heard about John Jay, if you look it back up, that was like the first trial of murder that we had in this country, or at least we tried to attempt. And that was what led to some of the murder laws that we have now. So that was on his agenda, but some of the main things was he wanted to build a system where we didn't rely on slavery for like our economics, and that was a main threat that Thomas Jefferson and John Adams had that ultimately, which helped keep the two-party system.
Yeah, he was a futurist. He was a brilliant futurist who wanted to grow the country from what it was, being as he saw, because there were other places in the world that already have moved on, disgusting. Starting as America, it was just the easy, cheap, lazy, fucked up way to do it. It was, let's go steal some people. They'll do it. We'll tell them we'll kill them. We'll kill a few of them, and then we'll bring them over. We'll fucking...
in defense of slavery, kind of. Every big empire in history was built on the back of slaves. Now, I'm just saying, historically speaking, if we didn't own slaves, I don't know that if we would have had the blossom at the beginning to get to where kind of.
Here's the thing, though.
The Industrial Revolution.
So
now I'm not condoning slavery.
No, I know, but I'm going to say the inverse of that, because I understand what you're saying, because I think what we've done throughout most of history has gone the easy, cheap, lazy, fucked up way of going about it. But there always has been. I mean, even in China, thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, all over Africa, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, there's always been, sciences and different shit that's been, grown, and different, all these different ideas that have grown. But then somebody comes in, instead of wanting to grow in betterment in those kind of ways, comes in and wants to grow in size and wants to grow in, in power, and then just takes over and then steals that shit. Yeah. That's always happened throughout history. So I get it. It and it sucks. It's fucked up.
It's kind of human nature, especially at a primitive level.
Because you would have.
I was gonna say, what makes Europeans so crazy is just the fact, though, that they imported the slaves. Like, you talk about the slavery that happened in China and Africa and stuff. That was all domestically. That was just like, you poor. Oh well, you gotta be my bitch now.
Yeah, you're a worker. There was like a caste system in a lot of those places, actually, and most of those in Africa, China, and those earliest civilizations, and in South America, caste systems, as opposed to like what we look at as slavery, but more or less the same. Yeah.
That's interesting. I never even thought about that.
Because they weren't pulling people in, because they weren't trying to grow.
I get and exactly like the what big. He's saying. It wasn't a religious sect or a class.
No, it was just class.
Socioeconomic sect. Yeah. That was dominating somebody else that was brought in.
Well, it's just where you were born.
An even lower class.
Yeah.
That's what I never thought about that.
That's what makes European slavery so unique. If you look at places like Haiti and everywhere, it's all importations of people.
Because they looked at a human as a tool, as opposed to just a lower person. Literally a tool that you would sell, as opposed to something you would just pay like food.
Where was that revolution where the slaves killed all the slave masters? There was an island, was it
Haiti.
not? Yeah, it was Haiti?
Haiti. They're the only people that ever freed themselves from slavery.
Balling shit I've ever heard, dude.
But you know what the consequences was?
It reminds me of Django. What?
France came and imposed a tax on them that equivalates to, I think, $100 million in today's time. But back when Haiti first freed themselves, they said, look, then you got to pay us for all the property and damages that we lost because you killed some of our slaves died within that war and some of our lords died within that war. So Haiti wound up paying that money to get their freedom, and I think they're still paying it. But because
Was it
of that,
occupied by France at the time, Haiti?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they broke away from French rule and freed themselves in the process. So they did two things at once.
Well, France was the reason for their
well, yeah,
rule and
right.
slavery,
So they killed their masters, which is an immediate slavery, and then they freed themselves from an occupying country, which is, you know, a more broad freedom. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to just individual. So two things to me.
But they were
So
still
that's pretty
taxed on the
impressive.
way out, though, right?
Well, I mean, it's fucked
They were
up,
still
but-
kind of taxed when on the way out, though, right?
Yep, taxed so much that they can't ever rebuild their home.
Yeah, Haiti's still like a broken country, and then every time that, you know, any kind of weather hits, it just gets ravaged even more. Yeah.
Yep.
They must fucking hate white people there, bro. Especially French white people. I would, dude. Are you joking? Dude, get your government together, bro. You got how many croissants do you need? You know.
Well, they're fighting to get that money paid back to them because they feel like they earned it. They like, look, we fought our way out of slavery. That says more about you than it does us, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
I mean, shit.
Yeah,
I brought this up on the podcast on Sunday with Nerds of Words, but I think we're at the point where you have a place like Haiti, and like I get that, you know, we send down like care packages and people and stuff like that every now and again, but like, hey, yo, France, maybe like another EU country, why don't you just throw up for 10 years and rebuild the country and just make it good?
Yeah.
It probably won't cost you that much. And guess what? Here's the best part. If you really want to be a little bit greedy at the end, make it like a tourist destination for yourself a little bit. Rebuild it with them. And take the money too. Like what doesn't compute with that? You could better a country and get out on top too because you're a piece of shit. Like I don't understand, but like they won't even go for the first part, which would be even cheaper just building it.
If France actually gave it with the right thing
any
to
country
do
like that, any country that's been ravaged like that, any small country would be an easy place to start and show, hey, we can fix the world. And I think that's something that we haven't
put
done.
money in their infrastructure.
Yeah, why
because
not?
a lot of poor places like that, that's if you start building the pillars of infrastructure, then it helps society kind of build.
I mean,
on top.
shit. I know that we've been kind of bashing America this whole time, but like a case in point,
not
Cuba.
really.
Cuba,
we're just saying we're criticizing the areas that need criticism. We're not bashing anything.
Puerto Rico. I'm sorry, Puerto Rico is being built up. America's been working with Puerto Rico. There's been talks over the last decade and a half, 2 decades of like, hey, maybe Puerto Rico could be a U.S. state at some point. That's still a thought. Like, holy shit. Like, why not? Like, why not do that with other countries and stuff? They should be.
Well, they're a U.S. territory.
They are a U.S. territory, but I mean, like a full-on state. They can't vote and they don't have rights.
You're not a U.S. citizen.
They can't just, you can't freely.
Yeah, so there's guys who are from Puerto Rico, served in the military, and then got deported back to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, because it's like, your card's
insane. Up. They did the same thing with people in Guam.
3 years. Yeah, dude.
The same thing.
Yeah.
And
that's wild.
Well, okay.
Dude, America doesn't mess around with their
Josh, real fast, what are your thoughts? Have you been paying attention at all to the stuff that's going on in Portland?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Fucking absolutely insane. With the government, with the actual full-on troops being sent in against people that are peacefully trying to protest for something that's been a problem.
But I don't know what else.
Mostly peacefully protest. Mostly peacefully protest. We saw a bunch of people, mainly white people, breaking shit. So let's be honest about that.
But that Antifa lie, I think, I'm not lie. It's a real thing. Not to say Antifa lie. It's a real thing.
The size of it is a lie. The size of Antifa is a lie.
Let's define Antifa. Antifa to me is like anonymous. Like anyone can just say that they're a part of it, but it's not really a real thing. You know what I'm saying? It's more of like an ideology than it is like a secular group.
Well, the original idea of Antifa was an anti-fascist, which would be anti-super government. Like anti-over, which should be every single person. But then you have it where it's been twisted and made into something where it's like everybody's Antifa. This is Antifa. Everybody throwing a bottle is Antifa.
Right. So people are co-opting that group, doing something horrific and then putting Antifa's name on it as if Antifa has some general leader that has control over every quote unquote member. Do you know what I'm saying? It's hard to control a group of people when there's no defined structure within that group.
But that's our society now. The same thing you're saying about Antifa could be said about Black Lives Matter. Like, we
That's
love
also
to
true.
hijack movements. We just hijack movements. And
Yeah.
we just take it from the original thing, because now you create a movement without having like a government head or a face. Like, you couldn't create the Black Panthers back in the day and not
It doesn't even have to be
humans doing it.
government. It just has to be a defined person.
Well, that's the scariest
Or
one
a
that you just
system.
said, Josh, was the Black Lives Matter movement is now like allegedly violent or something. When I started hearing that on the news, I was like, wait a minute, hold on. So the whole idea of Black Lives Matter is the fact that us as a world, or at least America, and probably most other places, because like people kind of suck, have forgotten that, hey, guess what? This shit's going on, and hey, since we're not treating them right, we have to say something really simple. Black lives fucking matter, don't you know, you stupid idiot? Like that's what the Black Lives Matter movement is, I think, right? Like, it's like, hey, you forgot.
But
we've turned it into something that's like, violent.
The media,
or
the media has conflated rioters, and they equated them to protesters, and they're not the same thing.
No, most protesters are going to be.
But that's
moms and dads who have a kid back at home, and they said, hey, we got our neighbor who's watching our kid, and we're going to go hold up this sign because we believe in something. That's most protesters, or it's young people. And
so Josh, I got to ask you a question. Does this movement feel different because of so much cooperation from white America? I know that there's a lot of opposition from white America, but I feel like this is also, there's probably more than I've ever seen, like cooperation with the Black Lives Matter movement. I don't know how you speak on that. You tell me.
Initially, it felt amazing. It felt like, yo, this might be where everyone could finally be themselves. Not just us, but remember the trans and LGBTQ hopped in and they started doing their thing. And then even the Hispanics, we brought, attention to the kids in cages. So initially I was like, yo, this is a good movement for everyone. But then once I seen that, like, Trump is kind of feeling it. Like, remember when he brought the soldiers, those federal agents, to D.C., and then we invoked the Third Amendment to get them out? You think he would learn from that. But then he's doing it to Portland now, and it's now like, if we constantly have a force that strong and that corrupt that's constantly going against us, and it's almost as if he has more might than we have fight. You get what I'm saying? So it's just like, we're stuck. No matter how much we latch on together, no matter how much we fight, now we got navies and the moms creating shields around the protesters, and he's just employing more federal agents, employing more lies, more fuel to the fire. I'm not going
how
to
about this
now.
This as a dream solution is when something bad like George Floyd happens, we all watch, we get presented the facts, and then we all vote on whether or not this guy should be arrested. The entire country.
Well, do you know what? Yeah, there's a lot of scary things about that. I think President Trump has been given too much power. I mean, I think it was just today, 3 of his tweets were deleted because he was lying.
I said dream world.
Solution. I know.
Okay.
I know.
Well, stop making it in the real world and
But we are living in the real world, and I think that's what we're talking about right now. I don't know. I think I might not be as high as you, I guess.
Dude, it's called high history, bro.
I forgot.
Yeah.
But no, I think that because you have a guy who we've given this power to, that's just saying the most ridiculous shit and is blatantly racist. Blatantly doesn't give a shit about anybody who has half as much money as he has or wants to have and acts like he has.
I think he's a genius racist. And why I say that is he says things that can be interpreted as racist, but somehow the radical right has figured out a way to kind of defend that point of view. So what I'm saying is, if someone's blatantly racist, it is nearly impossible to defend that point of view, without just saying, I'm also racist. So what I feel like Trump does is he kind of hints at it and, implies directly at it, but he never actually, it is, blatantly racist. Do you know what I'm saying? So he's kind of like a genius in the way that he words his transgressions, I guess you could say. He's an idiot.
The reason he's able to do that though is because people aren't aware enough to understand. So like some of the things you're using, I guess, is when you say like the Confederate flag shouldn't. He'd be like, the Confederate flag should never left NASCAR. That's not his way of saying like, yo, now we're inviting black people to this sport. We should have not done it. His words. But he's hiding behind the flag.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but it's indirectly racist. We understand what that implies, but you could make a case that he's, like they're making that case. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, oh no, like, yeah, no, I agree. I don't agree with them. I'm saying that from their perspective, they could say that it's really kind of genius how he blends black and white and makes it like gray, even though it's, it's wrong to us. They can like kind of hide, like you're saying, behind, the flag, because, the debate right now about the flag is like, it's not about what the flag would symbolize to somebody who's black. It's about their heritage and all this shit, which is a bunch of bullshit. But it's just like, oh, so you're hiding behind kind of the same thing with Colin Kaepernick when they didn't want to talk about the real issue, which is why he was protesting. They want to talk about the way he was protesting. That's the same thing. You're hiding behind that thin line of a narrative right there to be almost racist, almost blatantly racist, but you're just like right on the cliff,
Last time I was here, you told me to check this thing out that I went to go check out about the KKK guy who's
Daryl Davis.
Yes, who was able to convert the Grand Wizard into. And I wanted to tell you, like, that was an inspiring story, and like it was great because it had a lot of points of views that you was talking about how we could change things with just a conversation.
Yeah,
but it wouldn't be able to happen in today's America. Because you know what Daryl Davis didn't have to go against? The fact that he didn't have a president telling the Grand Wizard that his beliefs were okay.
That's fair. You're absolutely right about that. It definitely has intensified.
Well, my question too, when did the Daryl Davis, right? When did all that go down? When was that around?
He's been doing it.
No, I mean, like, when did it originally, when did he originally start putting all that together?
Dude.
90s and stuff. It was definitely a lot easier back then, I can tell you that much. Not having because like, it would be a lot harder to hop on like a forum or something online and start talking to people about being racist. But like now it's, I think almost, back when, Blaise, I'm not sure if you saw this, Josh, how old are you?
21.
Okay, so you're a little bit younger then.
Definitely didn't see it you're about to say.
No, so Blaise, I know that when I was younger, at least, it was definitely felt a little bit less racist on like in a lot of things.
It did, but
then when the internet came, it was just like everybody was sharing racist pictures, racist memes, doing racist this and like.
That's true, dude. But I think also if you think about it, it's also because it's so magnified that within everyone's inner circle, they're also discussing these situations, and then you kind of find out like, holy shit. He's racist, but I didn't know. Do you know what I mean? Whereas previously, if that story never came to light, you don't talk about it, you don't know. So I feel like, between white people, why would it's really hard for us to figure out which one of our friends are racist, until we start asking questions like that, or we're hanging out with black people or whatever. There needs to be that thing that you can find out what their mindset is, because it's not like a bunch of white people together and like, so how do you feel about black people? We don't do that. You know what I mean? It's only like, it's only like when we're talking about a specific situation, like George Floyd or something like that,
Yeah. I hear you, Blaise. And I also feel like it's kind of difficult because the lines get blurred where, black people, when how they got the old saying, like, all black people vote Democratic. And obviously,
that's not true, I don't think.
Yeah, it's
before
not
Trump.
true at all.
Before Trump.
Yeah, I mean, even before Trump, it was always like black people love to vote Democrat or whatever. But the example I'm trying to use is because that was a saying, it was automatically even universal among black people that like Republican kind of equates to racist, where white people don't have that kind of thing because it was never like you could point to an oppressor or you could point to an ominous threat. So now you got to kind of pinpoint, have little conversations to kind of get clues about a person. I think that's what the difficulty is.
Yeah, it is difficult. without the context for the conversation. Do you know what I'm saying? It'd be really weird if I was sitting around with a bunch of white people and said, how do you feel about black people? But it's not so weird to say, like, George Floyd, that was crazy, right? And then, you know, someone might be like, well, he was a criminal. And it's like, well, that guy, we already know this guy's a problem. Do you know? But I wouldn't have known that previously. So again, the social media aspect is kind of good because now we're all forcing each other to have these conversations. And, you know, quite frankly, white people generally, I think, believe, or they did before all this started coming out, that they generally think alike. And no, we do not, dude. You know, no, we don't. Yeah. But I didn't really know that until all this information started to get shared. And then I started hearing points of view and I was like, whoa, grandpa, you know, like, holy shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just, I would have otherwise never known that. So it's important for the context of to have that conversation. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Sorry, that was a rant. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. But I also think it was kind of classified in a way, like, you know, that's just city folks and country folks. That was like the only way I kind of heard white people growing up differentiate their way of thinking. They were like, oh, that's just city thinking. And that's just country thinking, you know? You get what I'm saying?
Yes, kind of. But I believe that there is truth to that, not necessarily among a black community, but city in general is definitely different than country. You know, like I live in the country and I like it way more than I like the city. And there's things that happen, you know, just based on the cultural difference of living out in the middle of nowhere. So an example would be a lot of people who come from Philly and they come hang at my house. They see like a deer and they'll be like, holy shit, that's a deer. But to me, it's like, yeah, it's a fucking deer. Right. And the same thing if I go to the city and I'm like, look at all these homeless people. And they're like, yeah, they're just bums, you know, it's the same thing. That would be a city thing and a country thing. So there's truth to that. But what you're saying is you kind of saw it as a divisive wedge. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, so like I used to wrestle and stuff, and I have friends, and you know, obviously they got like racist cousins. So if we was going over their house or some shit like that, they'd be like, "Yeah, my cousin, he got the country way of thinking," and that's my way of like, well, country way of thinking feel like racism, brother. So like,
well, even the way you just said that made me feel like, you know. So when you put it like that, yeah. When you say country way of thinking, it just reminds you of pickup trucks, the Confederate flag, chewing tobacco, fucking your sister, all those things. You know what I'm saying?
roadkill and shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they'll eat squirrels on a gym day or whatever. Yeah, fucking crazy. But so listen, we've been my phone is at 7%. Which sucks because this is a great conversation. I, you know, would love to continue it. So I'll just have you on again soon.
Okay.
And then, so I'm just gonna wrap it up, you know, for right now. Sorry to cut I felt like that was a good place to stop. Did you have something else that you wanted to say before I just kill it all right now?
The only thing I want to say is, like, Ev, I did not forget your name. I just got confused because I swore, like, early on I heard Blaise say Ethan, and I was like, oh, have I been saying it wrong? But
dude,
that's the only
Ethan and Kevin are both of the ones that I get all the time just because it's, like, real close. So you're good. You're okay.
His name's Even. His name's Even with an E. Even. Even. Yes. So that's producer Even.
It's not.
You know, it's supposed to be some jokes in here too, boys.
Don't go
Jiggle it up with me.
Oh, here comes the Russian jokes.
Yeah.
Oh man, really felt great today. No, that was a really good talk. I think we could have talked. I mean, for hours, honestly, about everything that's going on.
Dude, I think you're just gonna have to be a regular, dude.
Hey, bro, just let me know. As long as you're not exploiting me, man, we can't.
I'm not.
Right. No, you know I'll fuck with you, Blaise. I'm your boy, bro.
Otherwise, you wouldn't have come back. So, you know, now when people say you're racist, I can be like, no, I have this one guest. He's a friend of mine. He comes on my podcast and he's black. And that makes everything I say okay. Yes?
Oh, no.
No, we try to tell him this all the time. It's like the reason why we haven't done Slapstick in a while because we've been trying to find somebody new.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just fucking around. I was saying, like, you know, in sarcasm, as like
absolutely
people do
terrible
that. Like,
jokes.
I can't be racist. My mailman's black. It's like, that's not how that works, you know.
Trust me, man. Don't make a title that makes me have to explain that, man.
All right, yeah. I honestly thought that title was funny, and then it was like, oh no, it was, and I never even viewed it from that perspective. What I was thinking about actually was the biblical version of Moses saying, "Let my people go." That's why I made it that title.
All right.
I
Well,
wasn't even
felt
thinking
like
about the how yeah, if you're black and we're talking about slavery, that maybe, you know, a white guy going, let my, you know, yeah, I get it. I get it. I get it.
Josh, tell me where I can find you real fast before Blaise's stuff dies on us. I got your
Instagram at Believe, and then it's a period, then a letter N, then it's another period, then Josh.
got that up on the screen for everybody there. Blaise, where else can we find you?
Believe what? Blaise G comedy on it. On, you know,
dope.
If you Facebook friend me, I'm not going to accept it, so it doesn't matter. So just Blaise G comedy on Instagram. You can watch my stuff here. That's it for me. Evan, tell them where they can find.
Producer Evan NWW. You can find pretty much all of our stuff at droptent.com. I also do Nerds of Words, and we do come in with some slapstick sports. I think we're going to be doing UFC 252 coming up. Blaise, hopefully you can join us for that one. Those are always fucking awesome. Josh,
Dude,
we'll probably have to get you onto that if you're into MMA.
Yeah, for sure. Josh, we should have. Yeah, I don't know if you watch MMA, but dude, the last time that we did that. The last time we did that, I couldn't use like the same broadcast as them. So while we were recording, I wasn't even watching the fight.
This time we got it figured out. We'll be fine.
And drinking, and I was hammered. And then I put like a military helmet on, just staring at the camera. Then I came back with like a big head on. Then I put lotion all over my face, like someone jizzed on my face. No one noticed any of this shit for the whole time.
I mean, we did. We just didn't want to say anything. Thank you for joining us. High history.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. Thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate that.
I appreciate y'all, man.
Love you, buddy. Stay safe.
Same to you, bro.
This has been a Drop Tent Media production.